Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I am Doc Rodden, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-host Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. This week, we're reviewing the Mortuary Collection, streaming on Shudder. This is going to be fun. What we do is we give our first impressions, we chat about the film, and then we wrap things up with our final thoughts. Our score, 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. That's what you want to stick around for. That's the cool stuff. All right, let me introduce the crew, and then we'll get to it. All right, up first is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl. How you doing? Nice ears.
I'm pretty good. Okay, so I still see my lag, so I apologize for my lag. Blame it on the HP. Yeah, that's all. Oh, God, well, I hate myself right now. I'm seeing myself, and I'm like...
it's very distracting.
It is, right? See, my ears should be distracting, not me. Hey.
All right, also joining us is my buddy from HR, Dave Dreher.
Yay.
Wait, I want to try to do the same thing.
Oh!
It's really hard. I can't do it.
You're horrible. You're a bad person, Dave. A bad person.
You're picking on her, you devil, you. All right, also joining us is our guest host, Christopher G. Mohr. He is an award-winning filmmaker. Yeah, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
Oh, well, you're much better.
The smile, too.
Much better. That was very good. Very good, Christopher.
Man.
That was good.
Evil.
All right, so what we're doing here is, outside of ribbing for Crystal Cleveland, is talking about the Mortuary Collection. Let's talk about the film. It is on Shudder starting October 15th, 2020. It's written and directed by Ryan Spindell. The cast includes Clancy Brown, Caitlin Custer, Barak, Hardley, Christine Kilmer, Emma Horvath, Sarah Hay, and Jacob Elordi, or Lord-I, maybe. Synopsis is a young drifter applies for a job at the local mortuary and meets an eccentric mortician, beloved character actor Clancy Brown. Mr. Krabs to you and me, just saying, who chronicles the strange history of the town through a series of twisted tales, each more terrifying than the last. A Shudder original. Yes, I'm the only one that's going to go to SpongeBob, but hey, that's me. All right, so let's do this. Let's go. Let's give our first impressions. And since we have Christopher G. Mohr here as our guest, let's start off with him. Christopher, let us have it, sir.
I really love this anthology. And after finding out who directed it, I love it even more.
Yes!
Because it's directed by Ryan Spindell. And for those of you that don't know his name, hopefully you need to know it because he's a really talented director. And the visual sense, the kinetic energy of this film, you can see it. There's a lot of, it feels very Sam Raimi-ish in parts. But he directed, I think, a short called Scared Stiff, which is part of that 50 States of Fright on the Quibi platform, which I remember when we talked about that was one of our favorites of that. And, you know, in this one, there's one of the shorts called The Babysitting Murders that's in this, which he actually wrote the script for this feature before he made it, but he couldn't get the financing. So he made the short to use it as a proof of concept for this. And I'm glad that he did that because this is one of the few anthologies where all of the shorts are visually interesting. You know, a lot of times with anthologies, you have a problem with the overarching story, the outer story to everything that's happening, and that works really well. And it has a little bit of Tales from the Crypt, has a little bit of Twilight Zone. You have Clancy Brown, who's doing like almost like a version of the tall man from
Angus Grimm,
from Phantasm with a little bit of lurch. Like if those two mated, you would get that. So he definitely has that sort of iconic way about him. The way he talks and stuff really works, and just all the stories are very interesting. And you know, I mean, and there's one that's takes place in a frat house that the whole time I'm like, this looks like a film I would make. And so, yeah, I was the visual sense in a lot of these scenes, the use of transitions, just the kinetic camera work, just everything really came together to make this a really entertaining film that, a lot of times when you make these anthologies, they have different directors making different ones and they don't all they're not all on the same level. And this one, the visual style goes throughout and it works really well. So yeah, I really love this anthology. It's one of my favorite anthologies I've seen in a while. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about it.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Up next is the one and only Crystal Cleveland. What is your first impression of the Mortuary Collection?
So I really loved this too. I don't know that I can say for sure that the stories got scarier as they went along, because I have to say the frat house one really messed me up. Oh God. And I know it had to mess you guys up way more than it messed me up. But still, just the image. I mean, they had a split-second image. I mean, they weren't afraid to show, but it wasn't. I think this was done very well. The first story is like practically a blip, but it was really interesting and really well done. And of course, they all had a message of, if you do something wrong, you're gonna get what you get about it. Even the wraparound story, which I love that the wraparound story. Well, I don't want to give anything away, but the wraparound story made sense as well with the whole thing. I think all the acting was great. I think Clancy was wonderful. I love him. I think he's fabulous. I think the female lead was also equally as good. And there were definitely a couple twists here that I did not expect. And usually I can kind of see that coming. But visually, it's really stunning and it's colorful. And there were some images that kind of messed me up a little bit. Like some, I don't want to talk about specific scenes because we'll get into that, but yeah, I enjoyed this one. It felt fast. It felt like it started and it was over. So
yeah, for an hour and 48 minutes, it went by.
Oh, yeah, it didn't feel like an hour and 48 minutes. It felt super fast. So that means it was really good.
Yeah, sure does. Mm-hmm. Either that or you took a nap. All right. Up next is Dave Dreher. Dave, what is your first impression of the Mortuary Collection?
I like this as well. I don't think I liked it as well as Crystal or Christopher did. But with that being said, it was still entertaining. They seem to be going with Clancy Brown for like a horror icon kind of status with this mortician character. Maybe achieved it. Not 100% sure. I really need to watch this one again. I'm almost 2 weeks out watching this one. I think I watched this one way too early, thinking we were recording this podcast like last week sometime. So I'm a couple of weeks removed from the viewing of this, but it was good. It was good. I apologize. I'm not as zealous as the two counterparts, but it's not a bad film.
Not a bad film. That's a weak ass recommendation. All right, just being blunt. I'm sorry. No,
stating the obvious.
Obviously, I love this movie as well. Yeah, what I loved about this was the wraparound story, because the wraparound story was the movie. In this case, the anthology part of it just supported it, which not many of the anthologies can do that correctly. Many have tried, some of them better than others. I mean, it reminds me, like even the old Amicus anthologies had a hard time. I would say like either Dr. Terror or Asylum did it the best. But recently Trick or Treat may have beaten it. But this one is really, really strong. There's some incredibly good visuals. There's one in an elevator. There's one in a basement. There's a number of them, and the one that Christopher likes the best. So there's definitely things I'm not going to forget, and I really, really liked Clancy Brown in this. I thought I really want to see this character. I want to see another one, and I want to see this character return.
But is it him?
Well, shush.
Mm-hmm.
No, he has to come back. He was really. I mean, The film wraps up in a little bit of a twist, and it has a twist before it in the last story that I really liked. It really was engaging. I will admit that I was a little nervous at first because the first story, while visually pleasing, didn't really have much oomph to it. There wasn't much of a story. And I was relieved when I found out that was the point, right? The point was he was telling a story and she gave him some shit about it. And I said, okay, I like this. Let's see what else happens. And I like that he's challenged and he has to tell better stories. And that was unique because for me, it gave it, it climbed, right? And climbed to a crescendo. And usually when you have an anthology film, they go with, a strong lead, get your weakest in the middle, and end strong, right? And this one just kind of ramped right up, and the ending is fantastic. So I kind of really dug this movie. I felt like I was going to, but I didn't know I was going to as much as I did. So thank you, Shudder.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay. All right. So, Dave, I always ask you effects. Now, I love the effects here. Now, they're mixed between practical and CGI. There are some CGI in here, and I thought it was a great combination. From an expert's point of view, tell me, am I right or wrong?
Well, first we'll have to wait for the expert to show up. But me personally,
it's you.
I thought they worked real well. And again, what happens a lot of times with these is, the effects end up taking away from the story, but they definitely enhanced the story in all four tales of this and the wraparound story when they were used. I think they worked very, very well.
I love the wraparound.
Kudos.
Yes.
Kudos to the effects team.
Yes. There is just a plethora of different types of effects to enjoy.
There are
all kinds of exploding things and critters and goosies and goblins, and
they run the gamut.
Yeah, even teeth.
They kind of seem like little fairies too. Those things with the the one that pops in the tooth. I think that's hilarious. It's like, thank you.
We might talk about that more offline because I have a theory of what they were. They weren't fairies, but anyway. Crystal, listen, you mentioned we talked about Clancy Brown, but Caitlin Custer plays our female lead, the Sam character that comes in for the job. And she's a little bit ornery and up in his case. What did you think of her? What made her work so well?
Well, she's hot. That helps. That always helps. Like, she's hot. But I think she did a great job of, sometimes the actors play something to kind of give away what's coming. And I'm so glad she didn't, because I had no idea what was coming up. And it shocked me. I really didn't see it at all. I was like, oh, what's Logan's story? Oh, okay. Is it Logan's story? Is it her story? Or is it whatever? I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to give anything away. But yeah, she's fantastic. And she was super hot at the end. Like, way hotter. Way hotter at the end. I was like, I can get behind a fat.
Yeah.
Without saying anything.
There is a if Clancy Brown can't make it back, we do have an alternative.
Just give it away then. Just.
You didn't hear that. Ignore it. All right, Christopher G. Mohr. We always talk about the transitions when we talk to you. It's all about the film work and the camera work. This one has a lot of strength to it, and I thought of you immediately. Well, actually, it's because of one of the stories and exploding genital, but.
Way to show the money shot already. Right. Wow.
Well, there was a money shot before that, but that's a different story. But anyway, what I really want to talk about is the transitions, right? And some of the camera work. Like, there's some shots, in the wraparound story they're really strong, and of course, getting into the stories and some of the things. What stood out to you, Christopher?
Well, the interesting thing is, like, it's not one of those things to where each individual piece was like kind of separate or whatever. They all had like different visual flourishes that were amazing. Like, even like the Babysitter Murders, the one where she's fighting with the guy or whatever, and we just see with the flashes of lightning. such a brilliantly composed scene where you don't know what's going until the lightning flashes again. Or there's a whole scene that takes place in the elevator that's very Crimson Peakish.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. And
so there's almost like a Del Toro influence, at least the way I perceived it. But then there's also, I mean, there's the frat house one. There's a lot of Evil Dead stuff, because there's even things where, like, when he's trying to get the keys and the cameras, it goes in really quick, and then he sticks his foot on the brake and it goes in real quick. And so there's all that kind of stuff, and there's a lot of really, I mean, one of the things that I thought, because my film Gut Punch, there's a whole sex montage scene, and in this one there's a sex montage scene in the frat thing. I was like, damn, he did a better sex montage scene than I did, with the use of the clock and then the people in the background, different positions and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool, like, there's a lot of things where the camera goes behind like a wall, and then you'll go into like the story, or you'll go straight to another part of the story. So there's a lot of really cool uses of the camera, the use of transition between shots, between scenes, going in and out of these stories and stuff, that really shows Ryan Spindell his ability to tell a story in a very entertaining way that isn't the normal traditional way, and even just the use of lighting. And there's really cool lighting schemes with the use of different colored lights, because there's like that one scene where he's like feeding his wife, and one side of the room is lit one way and the other side is lit the other way. So it really adds this interesting split between these two characters. But yeah, everything really comes together visually with this. It just, like, the whole time I'm like, damn, I need to step up my game and make stuff more like this, because he really shows an affinity for, being visual, or being visceral, when it comes to stuff that happens in the frat thing, or I love the intercutting between the 80s movie and the babysitter, the real thing that's happening in the house. You keep cutting between to where it sort of
mimics it.
It mimics it to where it's almost like they're going on the same type of storyline, but also it deviates. So yeah, I mean, it's just, everything just really comes together to where the whole time I'm like, this is not what I expected going into this, because a lot of these types of movies are very uneven, but this is even all across the board, and it just really shows you the artistry of this filmmaker and his film team. Production design, that whole house feels very Del Toro-ish, with a lot of the setups, like the different rooms and stuff, and the lighting. So yeah, I mean, this is a step above, or even the visual effects stuff. There's a little bit of let me say Drag Me to Hell in one part. So yeah, I just loved every aspect of this film, because visually it's a smorgasbord of all kinds of neat visual ways to tell the story.
Yeah, there's a really great shot I liked when Clancy Brown walks into the library, and he's on the upper level and she's down below, and it's kind of shot up, and it just gave this really great entrance for him. And there was a number of shots that have that eye for composition, and I always appreciate that in a film, and this had a lot of it. Every little story had its own.
The high ground thing, to where it's like a lot of times you can show someone's power by showing them
on the high ground,
above, and then the way that you frame them, because the camera's always above looking at her at that specific scene, so it shows you that he has more power in that specific scene.
I didn't think about that. That's neat. And kudos to Mike C. Nelson, who plays Dr. Harold Kubler, who's in every episode.
Yeah, although I don't think he's in the, unless is he the voice in the
although he might not be in the first one.
I don't think he's in the mirror one.
Yeah, the ones that actually have stories.
Yeah. Well, but that one's really effective. It's very effective in what it is, and it's very like H.P. Lovecrafty, and how that's composed. So
I like that it was vintage, like she's the cute little style she has, and yet she's a little bad girl.
Yeah, although I was like, I mean, if I see something like that, I'm gonna run for the door. I'm not gonna sit there and just stay. I was like, I was like screaming at my TV. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Go to the door, you woman, crazy woman."
Yeah, and Tom Woodruff Jr. Is part of the effects team and was one of the characters. You know, he did a lot of the effects for like Aliens, and you know, he's responsible for a lot of stuff, right?
There were some beautiful things.
There's one involving
TV
from the short involves a TV that is a very
it's
a very different way of showing gore. Let's just say that without giving it away.
Yes. Smashed tomato.
See, you just gotta take it too far every time. So Christopher, I give like this much, and then Doc always feels the need to like fill it all in so that they can understand it. And I'm like, no.
You know what? Yeah, you know what I just said. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm gonna start calling you Tom Holland because you're giving away too many spoilers.
All right, if you're still with us, thank you for hanging out. We're getting ready to do wrap things up. We give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. This is where the money's at. So stick around, right? But first, if you'd like, please subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Hit the bell so you can be reminded for more because we do this a lot. And leave some comments. What did you think of this? Do you like Shudder? Do you have Shudder? I know you do have Shudder, and I know you like this movie. So let us know down below. All right, let's do this. Let's wrap things up. Christopher, you get to go first, sir. Your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
Yeah, and make sure you do give it a thumbs up. Otherwise, we'll have Doc spoil things for you in the future. The more I think about it, the more I love this film. And I am one of those people. It's like sometimes the visual energy of stuff. Sometimes I could be more style over substance. Sometimes, you know, it's like that's why I like Taco Bell more than regular Mexican food. But yeah, it's something. I don't know why I even brought that up.
You always talk about food.
Always bring food into it.
He loves Taco Bell. I mean, I get it.
If you're listening, Taco Bell. No, I really love this film. And a lot of it has to do with the visual storytelling. Ryan Spindell he's a really talented director, and it makes me continue to look to see what he's going to do next, because I was really impressed by Scared Stiff, which he did for the 50 States of Fright. And if you haven't subscribed to Quibi, go get your free, if they have free things, go watch it or whatever. You need to watch that specific thing because it's really well crafted. And this is well crafted too. And it's really interesting that it was all started with that one little short that he made. And then, and then was able to make the whole film, which I heard it took like 7 years, the process of getting this made.
Wow.
But, one of the films, I read an interview about him, and he talked about Evil Dead 2 was one of the first horror films he watched. And then he saw Dead Alive. So you can sort of see those influences in this. Yeah, I think the visual storytelling is spot on as one of the better visually looking anthology films that's ever been made, in my opinion. The gore is really cool, really great, and stands out. The bookended story involving this mortuary guy really works well, especially how it ties into one of the stories. And just overall, I think I was really impressed by everything visually in this film, to where it's a step above, I think, a lot of films of its ilk. And I'm so glad that Shudder got to put this out there for people to see, because it's worth seeing. It's definitely in my top 10 of the year at this point. Just by the visual thing. Because as a filmmaker, if I can watch a film and it makes me want to be a better filmmaker, then it's really impressed me. And this film does. Yeah. So yeah, I'll give it a 5 out of 5. And some people may hate me for that. I know, Crystal, you rarely give anything a 5.
I haven't given anything a 5.
You haven't, yeah. That's why your speech is off. It's all that karma for not giving stuff 5s. I'm just kidding. Or am I? But and as for if I have a favorite scene, God, that could be everything in this. I'll probably have to say it.
Yes, we know what your favorite
it's the
scene
comeuppance of the frat guy, because I
yes,
really
of course.
can't stand fraternities and frat guys of those ilk. So
I am totally with
and
you.
and that specific guy, I hate those type of guys. Are just assholes and jerks, and they deserve what's coming to them. And like I said, doesn't give anything too much away, but yeah, I that whole scene, yeah, is just pretty. It's gruesomely
that little blip,
awesome.
that little blip.
That's
I was
all
like,
you needed? That's all
oh,
you
they
needed?
actually.
Well-
Whoa!
Well, and that's the whole thing. I'm like, oh god, they're gonna show it because there's that one time where the doctor looks underneath, and I was like, ugh. But when they show it, it's the literal money shot,
Yeah.
for that scene. So I'll say that even though it made me cross my legs. Of course, that whole end part of that made me cross my legs because I would hate, if any guy were to have to go through that. I don't think they could probably deal with it like women do. That's why women are much stronger individuals. So yeah, I'll have to say that's probably my favorite scene.
I knew it. All right, Crystal Cleveland, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
Well, I'm not going to hold you hostage like Christopher did, so I'll just be quick and to the point. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
Ouch. Wow.
I love Christopher. That's just a fact. Anyway, I completely agree with everything he said. It's fantastic. Visually he can talk about it more than I can. I mean, he's so much more knowledgeable about that. But I liked the stories too. I thought they were fun. I thought that they were delivered in a very creative way, and I liked the acting. And yeah, it was a good time. I could totally see myself just having this on in the background and just watching it multiple times because I enjoy it and go, oh yeah, this part. So I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's really high. And my favorite scene, I mean, just I thought it was going to be Christopher's scene, and that was my favorite scene at first until the floating elevator. Oh my god, it was so. It almost like I mean, I'm not kidding. When I watched it, I kind of went, I love it. Like I loved her. She's so beautiful and ugly and brilliant. So. Just got me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it is great. It is a great scene. All right, it is time for Dastardly Dave here. All right, sir. Give us your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
I think everything that has been said is correct. I can't speak too much about the filmmaking technical end of it. Just as a fan, again, I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was anything that spectacular. But it was good. It was good. It's good for this time of year. It's a good Halloween movie for sure. I'm not sure we'll look back at it as give it the same type of love we give a film like Trick or Treat or something like that. But we may. We'll see. We'll have to see where it goes. I'm going to give it a 3.5. It's a very
solid.
Yeah, it's a very good film. My favorite scene was the one that Christopher chose. I think that's pretty much is the best scene in the movie.
Yeah.
So now I'm left scrambling trying to think of another one. The only other scene that pops into my head, and I can't really say too much about it, and it's not an effects scene. I don't know what is with me lately. All of a sudden, I'm liking these scenes that are more character driven as opposed to the in your face gore shit.
What?
But there's a scene that we get in front of the crematory between our mortician and our lead girl, where something is revealed, and that scene stuck in my mind. So I'll go with that. But actually, it's the frat boy scene.
Yeah.
Well, the other scene is really good too. Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, that was a really good scene. Nothing happens great bloodshed wise or anything like that. But there's a pretty major development in that scene that.
It is a great scene. It does have a big character moment. I enjoyed the hell out of this. I do love my anthologies, and they're a tough breed. But this one is one of the good ones. This is the one you're going to want to watch. I kind of agree. Trick or Treat is kind of the pinnacle of the modern ones. It's kind of the one you look at, but. I kind of like this one. I really like. I really do like this one. It just has, for me, it's the structure. It's built like one movie where the anthology part is just supporting the movie itself. And I really liked that. And I liked how some of our characters are integrated into a couple of the stories, or into the overarching themes and stuff. I like the nature of our crypt keeper, if you will, the mortician. It's just a really great character who doesn't quite get it. I just love that. What do they call him? Creepy or something?
Creepo.
Creepo, yeah, creepo. That's new. And it just, there's all this. It's a little bit more lighthearted without being like the tongue in cheek and cackling. It was more of a character and funny. And I don't know. I really liked it. This movie. It isn't going to be out and out scary, although there are scary-ish bits, and there are a lot of gore, a lot of thrilling, spooky, spectacular, and supernatural moments. And in the end, I just really had the ending. Really, I will say, in the end, I enjoyed it, but the ending itself sealed the deal, and that's my favorite scene. So I'll get that here in a second. But my score is going to be 4.25. 4.25.
Nice.
4.25. And my favorite scene is there's this scene at the ending, and I think Crystal, you called them fairies, so we'll go with that.
They look like fairies.
I know what they are.
What are they?
They're not fairies, and we can't say because
okay.
But even though it's 100% CGI, I thought it was so
They were cute,
awesome, and the whole idea of it, and it just felt so perfectly EC that EC Comics that I just loved it. Yeah, and it was great. Yeah. There's also a scene where they're hanging up a pennant that kind of gets on everyone's nerves. Less said about that, the best. Better. Anyway, so there you go. That's our review of the Mortuary Collection.
Yay.
It's streaming on Shudder. You have Shudder. There's no excuse. Go watch.
If you have
it.
Shudder, watch it now.
Yes,
Totally.
and then come back here and let us know what you think, and make sure you subscribe because we want to talk about more Shudder films each and every week, probably, along with other things. Just check us out. We talk about a lot of films. We are nuts. We are crazy. All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging out this long. For those who did, I appreciate you greatly. And Christopher, Dave, and Crystal, thank you so much.
Yay, thanks for
Always,
having me.
Doc. Always.
Just
Thanks for having me on. And just remember, where is it coming out of?
How it got in. Yep.
You have to watch the movie to get that.
And there might be a few people out there who are smart enough to figure it out. All right. With that, let's say a very painful good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.